LLC, ZB-2017-14. Site plan variance application for the construction of a third and fourth floor addition to an existing mixed-use building located at 205 Hamilton Street, Block 57, Lot 62.05, zoning district R-5A.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, board members, professional staff, Attorney James Clark of the firm of Clark and Mignola. I used to have more elbow room up here, but they moved the staff table. This is an application to expand an existing mixed use. There's an existing laundromat at the first floor of the structure, and that will remain unchanged. Currently, there are residential units on the second floor. The applicant's proposal is to construct both a third and fourth floor and have 4 residential units on each of those floors. Coupled with the second-story residential units, will have a total of 12 residential apartments. For those of you who have had the opportunity to go out and look at the site, you will realize that it is unique in the sense that it is both very deep as well as being significantly oversized for what the zone requires. There's a large parking lot in the rear of the property that contains 24 striped spaces. That is a generous amount, particularly for the Hamilton Street corridor. Like a lot of other properties on Hamilton Street, many of the bulk standards, for example, lot width, side and front yard setbacks, coverages, are not met. None of these non-conforming conditions will be exacerbated by this application. The third and fourth stories will maintain the same setbacks as what currently exists today. The existing mixed use is not a permitted use in the zone, but it has been there for decades. Therefore, a D2 intensification of a non-conforming use is the variance relief that we are requesting. Applicant is also seeking floor area ratio and height variances, but we believe that these will not be inconsistent with the established land development pattern in that Hamilton Street corridor. A parking variance is also needed. You will hear testimony that most of the people that frequent the laundromat do so by foot. We have 3 witnesses this evening. The first is Bill Doran, who is our architect. He will take you through the rendering, the floor plans, and the elevations. We then have Ron Sadowski, who is our engineer, who will take you through the site improvements that are proposed and go through the staff reports. And finally, we have our planner, whose testimony we believe will justify the variances that are being requested. Mr. Chairman, if you or any of the board members have any initial questions, I'll field them now. Otherwise, we'll go to the first witness.
Anyone have any questions?
Mr. Chair, just one matter. If the board members can be, if you can inquire of the board members whether any of them believe they have a conflict with this application.
Does anyone on the board have a conflict with this application?
No.
Wonderful. All right, we call Mr. Bill Doran.
Please state your name, spell your last name.
William Doran, D-O-R-A-N.
Alright, do you swear or affirm to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I did.
You may proceed.
Mr. Doran, did you prepare the elevations and floor plans that accompanied this application?
I did.
And did you also prepare that rather impressive rendering that's right behind you?
I had it done, yes.
Okay, under your direction and control?
Yes.
Wonderful. Could we mark that A1, please?
Sure. Is Mr. Dorn been
Swear in, or
Oh,
credentials?
oh, I'm sorry. Licensed architect in the state of New Jersey?
Yes, I am.
And how long have you been, sir?
1987,
And have you appeared before this board previously?
and many others.
And
being
have your
accepted,
credentials
yes.
always been accepted?
Yes,
Have they changed in any way negatively since you were last accepted by this board?
they have not.
All righty, can we proceed with him as an architect? Thank you. Can we mark that as A1 then, please? Can you describe the building materials that are proposed?
Yes, on the front facade, what you see here, we're doing a mix of brick and cement board siding with a stucco cornice at the top of the building. We also have a awning, a metal awning above the retail area. We will have storefront glass on the first floor. All the glass will be, on the entire building will be in black frames and black mullions. The other three sides, the left side, the right side, and the rear side, will all be cement board siding. The windows will all be changed. On the back of the building, there are some well, actually, it doesn't matter. All of the windows are going to be replaced on the building.
Okay.
I'm thinking glass block, and I couldn't get it into the
You had to
brain.
bring-
There are some glass block windows on the back of the building that are going to be replaced with regular windows.
We went through a number of iterations of your architectural plans, is that correct?
Yes.
And we've met with the staff's requests to eliminate the stucco except for the cornice,
And vinyl siding.
and we eliminated the vinyl siding.
Yes.
Okay. Can you take us through the floor plans, please?
Sure. Sure. The existing building, each floor is about plus or minus 3,500 square feet. Ground floor being the laundromat. The second floor, the existing second floor has 4 two-bedroom apartments. We're going to modify 2 of the apartments, so that we can get stairs up to the 3rd floor. And those apartments will end up being 1 bedroom. So, and which will be consistent all the way through the building. So on each level, we'll have 2 two-bedroom apartments, about 800 square feet each, and 2 one-bedroom apartments, about 700 square feet each.
Okay. Do we actually have the floor plans that we can?
We
put
did.
up?
We did.
Are these exactly the same as what we submitted with the application?
Yes.
Okay, then they would not have to be moved. Which floor is that?
This is the second floor level, the existing second floor level. So, as I said, we have 4 two-bedroom apartments, but because we need to get the stair up, bless you, we have an existing set of stairs that come up to service this floor, but then we need to build more steps in to get up to the 3rd level. So we're going to take some space away from each of the two of the apartments.
Okay. Can you show the 3rd floor, please? And take us through that.
Again, two-bedroom apartments on the one side. We have the stairs that come up in a lobby or a hallway that connects both set of stairs. And then we have a one-bedroom apartment, 2 one-bedroom apartments on this side of the building. And that's consistent with both the 3rd and 4th floors.
Okay, can we take a quick look at the elevations? And the top one?
The top one is the rear elevation. This area here in the center of the building was where the glass block windows were, so we're removing them and proposing regular double hung windows. We're showing that we're doing cement board, removing the vinyl on the second floor and doing cement board on the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th levels.
Okay. And the bottom is the front elevation, which is just...
Already discussed.
Already discussed.
With the rendering.
Please.
Side elevation, very similar, to, as I said, to the rear, where we're going to take off the vinyl siding on the 2nd floor on both sides of the building and put the cement board, change the windows out. Again, black frames, black mullions, AZAC trim around them.
Okay. Can we go back to the front elevation, please? And we propose some facade signage, is that correct?
That's correct.
Can you describe it, please?
It will be block lettering, the size of which will conform to the ordinance. It will be lit from socket lighting within the awning.
That's all for his direct testimony. He's available for your questions.
Any member of the board have a question? Any professional? Next witness, please.
Call Mr. Ron Sadowski.
Please state your name, spell your last name.
Ronald J. Sadowski, S-A-D-O-W-S-K-I.
You swear or affirm to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
You proceed.
Mr. Sadowski, licensed professional engineer in the state of New Jersey?
Yes.
And for how long?
25 years.
And you've been accepted by this board previously?
Yes.
And have your credentials changed?
No.
Thank you very much.
We'll set you there.
Thank you.
To prepare the site plan drawings that accompany this application,
I did.
can you first tell the board the location and the size of the property?
The property is located at 205 Hamilton Street. It's approximately 18,075 square feet, which is a little bit more than twice the required property size for this zone, the R5A zone.
Okay. What's on the property today?
It's a mixed-use building, 2 stories with a laundromat at the first level and 4 two-bedroom apartments on the second floor.
And you're making reference to a plan drawing that you prepared?
Yes, it's not a drawing that's contained in the site plan package. It's a site rendering, which has just taken out some of the notes and dimensions, so we'll mark it.
And it's a colorized version?
It's a colorized, yes.
And we mark it as A2, please?
A2, yes. Okay.
All right, so it's an existing mixed-use building.
Yes, it is.
The laundromat on the first floor
Yes,
and residential on the upper 2 floors.
yes.
All right, can you tell the board what the applicant proposes?
The applicant is proposing to add a 3rd and 4th floor to be used for residential use, apartments, converting the 2nd floor from four two-bedroom apartments to 2 two-bedroom and 2 one-bedroom, and then continue that with the 3rd and 4th floors. So the 3rd and 4th floors will each contain 2 two-bedroom and 2 one-bedroom apartments.
All right, let's go through what site improvements are proposed by the applicant.
Okay, the site plan is going to, in essence, remain unchanged with the exception of there'll be some additional landscaping. I've colored some trees in the along the perimeter of the property, which again, as Mr. Clarkin had mentioned earlier, has 24 parking spaces on it. So there's quite a substantial amount of parking and pavement on the property as it remains today. We are also proposing to enclose the existing trash and recycling dumpsters, having them located behind the building, away from the residential property to the north of the property. We have existing lighting on the property that will remain. There's a one-way in and one-way out, which will remain for circulation to the parking lot. There are no proposed changes to grades, drainage, or the curbing that exists along the perimeter of the parking lot.
Do we have a barrier-free pathway?
We do. There are 2 handicap or ADA parking spaces as you drive into the parking lot, and there is a pathway, a direct pathway connecting to the ADA ramp that's behind the building.
And will the ADA spaces be signed?
Yes, they will. They'll have signage and striping.
Okay. How are we handling garbage and recycling?
The garbage and recycling will continue as it does today, where there is a private hauler that enters the property and empties the dumpsters and then exits the site.
In your opinion, as a professional engineer, do we have any issues with interior traffic circulation?
No, we didn't.
Okay. And has the applicant and yourself consulted with Fauci Parting, which provides the dumpster services for this property?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, board members, staff, we procured a letter from Fauci Parting dated November 22, 2019. It's short, and I'd like to read it into the record, and then we'll mark it as an exhibit, please. Dear Mr. Hernandez,
I'm sorry, Mr. Clark, I believe that letter was provided to the board.
do we have it already?
We did, we have it.
All right, wonderful. Okay, I just asked then all the board members to take notice of it, and we will not have to admit it as an exhibit. Ron, have you had an opportunity to review the Bignell Planning Report dated November 18 of 2019?
I have.
Okay. And moving to paragraph 9, Mr. Chairman, as we customarily do, that's the plan and review comments. Mr. Sadowski and I will take you through them. With respect to item A, we will, of course, obtain all other necessary governmental approvals. Ron, with regard to item B, can you address the request for the lighting contours?
Yes, we will update the plan to have house shields to reduce the spillage onto the adjacent properties to below what's acceptable with the ordinance.
And you're comfortable, we'll have no problem doing that?
Absolutely.
All right. With respect to item C, that concerns the clear barrier-free pathway that Mr. Sadowski just testified to. With regard to item D, we have a cross-access easement situation. Is with respect to the property owner to the west, where we have a shared driveway, that's the ingress driveway. Most of it is on the subject property, but a portion is upon the next door property. At the staff's request, we have prepared a cross-access easement agreement. I've provided it to council. We request that the condition be that the applicant utilize all commercially reasonable efforts to obtain a signature on that easement. We've been dealing with the principals. They're both Greeks and they are in Greece. They're supposedly coming back for the holidays, but we can't be held hostage in the event that they don't sign it. They've indicated that they will. It's just as much for their benefit as it is ours, but as a matter of law, we do have the right to continue the existing easement situation without a document, so we request that the condition be reasonably, commercially reasonable efforts.
Mr. Chairman, normally what would happen is we would receive a copy of the proposed access easement or deed of easement. After the board has actually voted on it, I would have an opportunity to review it beforehand. Mr. Clarkin has provided it beforehand because of the understandable difficulty in getting a hold of the neighbor. So the form of the deed may or may not be tweaked just slightly, but I would not have an objection if the board were to look on the application favorably to making it a best efforts situation to get that easement signed by the neighbor. As Mr. Clarkin's indicated, it's the benefit of both, probably more to the benefit of the neighbor than to the applicant.
Thank you.
All right, with regard to items, thank you, Arvin. With regard to item E, that concerns the laundromat signs that we just had testimony about. Item F and G are both for the planner to respond to. They concern themselves with the purpose and intent of the R5A zone, as well as the floor area ratio. With regard to the deficiency in parking, Ron, did you ever perform parking counts during your various trips to this property?
Yes, there were 4 occasions where I did an inventory of parking. I did that in March on 4 occasions, during the week twice between 7:30 and 9:30 and a.m. and 4 p.m. and 6:30 p.m. and then on 2 Saturdays at 10 a.m., 12 p.m. and 2 p.m. And the results of that, I found that at the peak usage was 6 parking spaces out of all the 4 times I was there, all the hours out of the 24 spaces, only 6 were occupied.
Okay. And in essence, what we are proposing, because this is a mixed use, is a shared parking area.
That's correct.
And basically, in summary, how does that work?
Shared parking is when the demand for each separate use is not at the peak hour. Each one is not at the peak hour. What happens is you have an offset where the laundromat, retail space would have a tendency to be occupied during the day. The apartments would be at night when people return home from work. So there's an offsetting use. So even though cumulatively we'd need 41 parking spaces,
Correct.
18 for the laundromat and 23, or do I have it reversed? 23. We don't, in reality, we don't need to have the 41 parking spaces because again of the offsetting uses.
All right, and then the last item in 9, paragraph 9, is the request for the colored rendering, and we have submitted that to you as well. Mr. Sadowski, have you had an opportunity to review the Delaware Raritan Engineering report dated November 22 of this year?
I have.
And are there any items in that report that the applicant cannot handle?
No.
All right, and in particular, can we or have you performed sewer collection system analysis and potable water system analysis?
Yes.
And is there an emergency generator proposed for this project?
No, there is not.
Okay. I would ask Mr. Carley if there's anything that we have not touched upon that is of any concern to you.
For the board's information, this application was initially filed, I guess, in 2017, and this is our fourth review. Over that period of time, they've touched on most of the bases that we've asked them to touch. Really what remains is administrative issues that, in coordination with the city engineer's office, if the board looks upon the application favorably, they'd have to go through.
All right, that concludes Mr. Sadowski's direct testimony. He's available for questioning.
Any member of the board have any questions? Any member of the professional staff? Seeing none, the next witness.
Well, our next witness.
Thank you.
Please state your name, spell your last name.
James Clarkin, C-L-A-R-K-I-N.
You swear or affirm to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
You may proceed.
Mr. Clark, since the last time we were before this board, have your credentials changed in any way?
They have not.
We'll accept you.
All right, thank you very much.
Taking my job. That's all right. That's all right. That's it. Mr. Clark, have you had an opportunity to review this application, the engineering plans, and the reports from the board's professionals?
Yes, I have.
Have you also had an opportunity to inspect the property as well as the surrounding neighborhood?
Yes.
What is on the subject property today?
So currently a two-story mixed-use building is on this property, subject property. As testified before, there's an existing laundromat on the first floor, 4 two-bedroom apartments on the second floor above the first floor. In total, the lot is approximately 18,000 square feet with a building height of 28 feet. Parking in the rear and egress on either sides of the existing structure.
Tell the board what are the surrounding land uses, please.
So it's in the R5A residential zone, so most of the surrounding uses are single and two-family homes, but you also have some multifamily residential apartment buildings, retail along Hamilton Street, and as you get closer to Easton Avenue, you'll probably run into some university buildings as well.
Can you tell the board briefly what your understanding is of the applicant's proposal?
Sure. My understanding is that we're going to expand the existing mixed-use building by adding a two-story addition on top of what is currently there. As I said, the laundromat will continue to operate as it does today. Bill, the architect, mentioned that there will be some renovations on the existing apartments for the second floor, and then we're adding the 2 stories, third and fourth. So that will be 8 more apartments added for a total of 12. Other improvements are just maybe restriping the parking lots, reconfiguration, landscaping, lighting, trash recycling, and the facade improvements as well.
Are you familiar with the city's zoning ordinance as well as its master plan?
Yes, I am.
You mentioned just a moment ago that this property is located in one of the city's R-5A zones, correct?
Yep,
Is the existing mixed-use building a permitted use?
it is not.
And is that why we need a D2 variance?
That is correct.
Okay. What other variances does the applicant need in order for us to build this project?
So we also require a D4 variance to allow for the increase in floor area ratio. We also need a D6 variance to allow for the increase in height that is permitted in the district beyond 10 feet or 10%. So we're just beyond that 10-foot threshold there. Flexible C2 bulk variance for the parking. As stated before, we're keeping the lot at 24 spaces when 41 is required. And then finally, we're continuing some non-conforming bulk standards.
All right. Let's start with the use variance. Does this zone permit mixed use with retail on the first floor and multifamily apartments as we are suggesting?
No, it does not.
Do you have an opinion whether this property is particularly suitable for the proposed mixed use?
Yes, I believe the site is particularly suitable to the use, or to continue the mixed use rather. The site's characteristics are suitable for this. I found two in particular that I think are of note. The first is the fact that the main structure as it currently is today is adjacent to the existing sidewalk, which I feel lends itself to mixed use. Usually when planners and engineers are implementing mixed use into a neighborhood or planning along a commercial corridor, you want it right against the sidewalk with no setback because it really adds vibrancy and life to the street life. And the way our building is situated now, it really is exactly that. It's right along the sidewalk and allows people to walk in the neighborhood, and it's really geared towards the pedestrian. For our site, the laundromat brings life to the street with many patrons who actually walk to utilize the services. A lot of neighbors will walk instead of drive. And this creates a communal service really for the neighborhood. And I think that a lot of patrons take advantage of this walkable fact. So that's the first example of particular suitability. In addition, I feel that the added apartments on top will only add more people walking on the streets that will add to the overall vibrancy of Hamilton Street. And then as testified before, this lot is really long and wide, but particularly the length is unique in our case in that you look around other lots in the neighborhood and you don't really see that. Well, I should say the length and the width combined because it allows for a large parking lot, which you won't really find in the neighborhood. So that's a really unique characteristic for the site and I think adds to its particular suitability for mixed use.
All right, let's turn our attention to the negative criteria. Can we meet the proofs for that?
Yes. So as I said, the site's particular suitability to mixed use serves the general welfare, and I find that there is no substantial detriment to the public good. The municipal zoning plan and master plan won't be substantially impaired by continuing and expanding this mixed use, as it has really been embraced all along Hamilton Street, but moreover, all over the city of New Brunswick. And I think it'll fit nicely in with the existing neighborhood. Finally, I believe the public good will be advanced greatly by this application, as an established retail laundromat utilized by patrons in the neighborhood will continue, but also add housing that is modern, safe, and clean.
Do you see any goals and objectives of the municipal land use law that would be advanced and furthered by granting this application?
Yes, I do. I've noted that objectives E and I would be furthered by this application. E is really geared towards promoting the establishment of appropriate population densities and concentrations that contribute to the neighborhood and community overall. So we're providing needed rental housing in the neighborhood that has similar apartment complexes with equal density or greater that are nearby to us. Plus the retail component will continue to provide established and needed services to the community. And then I is really promoting a desirable visual environment. And I feel that the architect has done a great job to really use good design techniques and materials to promote good civic design and just overall really creatively capitalizing on our existing building footprint.
Are there any goals and objectives of this city's master plan that would be furthered by granting the application?
Yes. So, as mentioned before, it's in the R5A zone. And the Bignell report says the proposed use is inconsistent with the intent of the zone, as it warrants medium density housing. I think it's important that when you read the master plan with a particular look at this zone, what the master plan is really trying to protect is avoiding single and two-family homes from being converted into apartments. And that is not what we're proposing here today. What we're proposing is, we are not converting an existing two-family home into apartments. What we're doing is strengthening an existing mixed use that is integrated into the neighborhood over the many decades of its existence. So I feel that by adding to this mixed use, it's really strengthening, protecting, and revitalizing existing residential neighborhoods, which is a goal of your master plan. It's really an upgrade, not a replacement.
Okay. Now, this being a use variance, we have an obligation to meet the enhanced standard of proof and provide a reconciliation.
Yes.
Can we do that?
I believe so. So I believe we can reconcile because New Brunswick, as I said before, has really embraced the urban planning benefits of mixed use throughout the city, and also it's present on Hamilton Street. Continuing this long-lasting retail establishment and added needed rental housing to the area will bring the benefits of mixed use to this area. And the benefits that come with that will be applied to this area as it really has been applied to all New Brunswick over the last couple of decades, really. And the city has never really shied away from, increased floor area ratios or building heights. It's really what the city's renaissance is built upon. In dealing with the reconciliation, let's remember this is not a straight D1 variance, this is a D2. So we're expanding, we're not adding a non-conforming use, we're just expanding the existing one. So the level of proof is therefore diminished or reduced.
Diminished because the D2 is not injecting a new non-permitted use into the neighborhood. Right?
Exactly, correct.
Please continue.
So really we're less concerned about expanding the existing non-conforming use than introducing a new non-conforming use into the neighborhood. Finally, in regards to reconciliation, the Medici case provides several avenues for this. One of those is a change in the character of the neighborhood, and another is also the change in the needs of the community. And I would submit to you that the explosion in this city of mixed use all over represents a change in the character of the city as a whole. And in addition, the city has a change in the need for new housing units, particularly as your current housing stock continues to get older. Some of the housing stock is over 100 years old, and as time goes on, the need for this change will become more pronounced.
All right, let's move to the D4 and the D6 variances for FAR and building height. Can you address both of those, please?
Of course, I can. So as I said before, the lot size is 18,000 square feet, and it's a bit unique for this part of Hamilton Street in the zone. But really what it also does, because of its uniqueness, is it provides more space to accommodate larger uses. The zoning ordinance calls for a max FAR of 0.35. Currently, as it stands today, it's 0.41, and we're asking to increase that to 0.82. For the height, as I said before, it stands at 28 feet approximately. We're proposing a height of 41 feet where 30 is permitted. So going back to unique characteristics of the lot, it has a really wide frontage, so this allows for a wide base for the existing foundation. So I feel that that really lends itself or allows for an expansion of the existing building because the foundation is there for adding additional stories. So really, because of this large size of the lot and being close, or just the way it's situated, allows for a vertical expansion. So the reasoning of our site characteristics being able to accommodate the project applies to both the FAR and the height. And in my opinion, the site can accommodate the increase in FAR from the added apartments as well as the added height from the 2 stories. Furthermore, a couple of lots to our east is an existing 5-story apartment building that was recently constructed in 2018. It's as if you're going towards Easton. That new structure is approximately 62 feet in height and has an FAR of 1.69. As far as I know, this building is occupied and thriving in the walkable neighborhood of Hamilton Street. And I think that this successful use illustrates that our proposed mixed use can not only fit into the neighborhood, but, sorry, let me roll that back. This successful use illustrates that our proposed mixed use with a strong existing retail component as an anchor can be accommodated both on our site and in the neighborhood overall. Therefore, the site can accommodate our proposed development. Lastly, to wrap this part up for the D4 and the D6, the parking lot can handle such an increase. As I said before, many of the patrons walk to the laundromat, which means more parking can go to the apartment dwellers, and I'll go more into the parking in a bit. But overall, I believe the proposed FAR and the height can be accommodated by the site and the neighborhood, and there's no substantial detriment to the public good, as illustrated by the adjacent use I just described.
All right, with respect to the parking variance, are you going to try and justify that under the flexible C2 analysis?
Yes, I am.
Please do.
Okay. So I said we are going to continue the 24 spaces that are there today when 41 are proposed. I also visited the site. This was fall afternoon. I think it was middle of September around 5:30 p.m. I actually saw 9 spaces occupied out of the 24. It's a little bit more than Ron saw, but really it goes to show that the parking lot is really underutilized. From the combo of people walking, quick turnover for the laundromat. And this was at 5:30 p.m., so I think some of the residential apartment dwellers were probably home, which could account for the existing parking spaces used. And also we walked through the laundromat and there were customers there as well. So given that assumption, and just discussions with the property owner just confirms that a significant portion of the patrons utilize the laundromat walk. And on top of that, you have Mr. Sadowski's parking counts where he observed no more than 6 at peak times. And even if you don't use that assumption, I think it's important to remember that we're talking about apartments here. Typically, parking demand for new apartments is different than single-family homes. They're usually a lot less or significantly less. Usually a family or even 2 friends will have 1 car or share a car. Then you have the public transportation options in New Brunswick. You have Uber and Lyft that really put a dent into car ownership rates. And also there's heavy bicycle use throughout the city of New Brunswick. So all those combined, I think 24 spaces is more than enough to accommodate all the new apartments, the laundromat needs, and the parking needs of the site as a whole. Yeah.
And with respect to continuing the existing nonconformities, do you see any evidence that these nonconformities have been detrimental to the public good or to the zoning ordinance or the master plan?
No, in my opinion, they are not detrimental at all. In fact, some of those site characteristics that create non-conforming bulk variances is exactly what I testified to before, and is what makes it unique and able to accommodate the increase in FAR and building height.
That concludes this testimony. Is available for questions.
Any member of the board have a question? Any member of the professional staff? Seeing none?
That concludes the applicant's direct case. I'll reserve the right for discussion after we hear from the public.
Mr. Chairman, just a quick question for Mr. Clark and me. The second floor of the building is currently occupied.
Correct.
So what is going to happen to the tenants that are in the building when the roof is torn off and the utilities are shut off and so on and so forth?
In speaking with Mr. Kamamis, the owner, he advises that all of those tenants are month to month, and they will receive the proper notice under New Jersey statute to ask to leave.
Is there going to be any relocation that the landlord is going to provide for these folks when they're asked to leave, or is it going to be just be asked to leave?
They'll be asked to leave in accordance with state statute, and they will be given the opportunity to re-rent once the structure is now habitable again.
And at this time, I'd like to open it up to the public. Anyone from the public that has any questions or comments on this application, please come forward. Charles, please.
Please state your name, spell your last name.
Charles Cradical, K-R-A-T-O-V-I.
You swear or affirm to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Proceed.
Good evening, members of the board. Just a couple of quick questions. I wanted to know who is the owner of the LLC. I think it was alluded to Mr. Kamamis.
That's correct.
He's the sole owner.
I'm not saying he's the sole owner.
Okay, are there any other owners?
It's part of the Kamamis family.
Okay. And I did want to ask about the laundromat and whether, I did get to sit in on the TAC meeting where this was discussed, and it was mentioned that they may try to keep the laundromat open, throughout construction. Is that still the plan, or would the, whoever the tenant is of the first floor also have to leave?
We will endeavor to keep the laundromat open. We think we can do it.
Okay. And the final question, is there a timeline for when construction might start and finish?
I would anticipate this firm.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I wish you all the best with your project.
Please state your name, spell your last name.
Mitch Broder, B-R-O-D-E-R.
Do you swear or affirm to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
You may proceed.
Good evening, members of the board. I represent construction management. We developed and operate the building, which was referred to in the testimony, which is now 2 properties to the east, I guess, would be, right? 191 Hamilton. I was before you, probably at this point, it's about 5 years ago, seeking approval for that project. We just completed it recently in June, and if you drive by, I'm sure you'll have noticed it. When I testified 5 years ago, I said, at the time, Hamilton Street had not had any new development from Easton Avenue to the very end by the border of Somerset, or Franklin, whatever that town is. And this would, our project would be the first new development. And part of my testimony was that it was important, at least in our experience, that new development like this begets further new development, and good encourages further good. And the opposite, of course, happens as well. Like bad begets bad, and when properties become deteriorated and neglected, other properties and surrounding properties, that occurs as well. So I am somewhat biased in full disclosure. Anyone that's willing to step up and make improvements and invest money into their property, I'm generally going to support it. This happens to be a neighbor of ours within 200 feet. I very much support this. It's a nice building. He's not tearing it down and starting all over, but to take the existing building and make a significant improvement like this, I don't think that the added apartments to the use is that much of an ask. It's important to give something when someone is making the investment and stepping up to the plate, and that's what these people are doing. And quite frankly, I don't even know who they are. I never met them. I don't know who Commandus is. I don't know anything about this other than getting the notice that I got a few weeks ago. So with that, I would, as a neighbor and someone who has stepped up to the plate next door to them, I would urge you to support this project.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other members of the public have any questions or comments? Seeing none, public portion will be closed. Board discussion? Who's going first?
But she's going to read into this.
Okay. Well, before we go that far, I noticed that you only have 5 voting members, and it's a D variance, and we need 5 affirmative votes. So as I customarily do, I will ask through your attorney if anyone has any comments, questions, concerns before I ask for the vote.
No.
Okay. Then we would proceed to the vote, please, and we can listen to the conditions.
Should the board act favorably on this application, we recommend the following conditions of approval. Compliance with the terms of the DNR engineering report dated November 22nd, 2019. Payment of site performance bond in an amount reviewed and approved by the city engineer if needed. Submission of a site inspection escrow deposit for the engineering inspection fees in the amount calculated pursuant to Title 16.24.160 if needed. Payment of all water and sewer connection fees pursuant to Titles 1304 and 1308 if needed. Issuance of a road opening permit from the city engineer if required. Compliance with the terms of the Big Now Consulting Group report dated November 18, 2019. Planning review escrow funded for all anticipated post-approval reviews. Payment of any other fees due to the City of New Brunswick related to development or use of this project. Payment of all outstanding taxes and water sewer fees. Middlesex County Planning Board approval or waiver. Freehold Soil Conservation District approval or waiver. Submit engineering site plans to comply with any changes required by the planning or engineering memos or plan amendments offered at the hearing. Submit architectural plans to comply with any changes required by the planning or engineering memos or plan amendments offered at the hearing. All utilities and other site improvements to be maintained by the applicant at their sole expense. All on-site utilities to be constructed underground. All temporary encroachments into the public right-of-way shall require city council approval. All construction staging shall be done on site unless an encroachment allowing into the public right-of-way is approved by city council. Streets shall be kept clean of sediment and debris. The applicant shall cause the streets to be cleaned if directed to do so by the Director of Public Works. Tracking pads shall be installed at all construction exits. Replacement of damaged streets, curbs, and sidewalks as per the direction of the city engineer. The applicant will use all commercially available means to secure a cross easement with lot 66. The variance requested were an expansion of a non-conforming use or D2 variance. an FAR or D4 variance, a height variance, a D6 variance, as well as insufficient parking and design waivers for parking aisle dimensions, parking lot buffer width, foundation plantings, light pole height, and lighting level.
And Mr. Chairman, based on the parking variance that's being requested, partially predicated upon the use that's currently existing on the first floor, which is laundromat, as a condition of the approval, if the board would also consider that if there's a change in the tenancy on the first floor to another use, that they come back before the board for approval.
That would be acceptable to the applicant.
What about parking permits, residential parking permits? Do they have any, do they get any now? And would that increase with the available new apartments going on top?
I don't know if they have them now.
So I guess the next question would be, would you limit it to what you, if you have any now, do you limit it to what's that?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we would.
Okay, thank you. Anything?
Nothing else from legal.
So I make a motion to approve with the conditions.
I'll second it. Evelyn Ascona,
Yes.
John Zimmerman,
Yes.
Michael Belvin,
Yes.
Nancy Coppola,
Yes.
John Cox.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Well,